Hello, greetings from Brooklyn, New York. I thought I'd make a quick video today. I've been kind of lost in terms of what content to make, waiting for inspiration. And yesterday I was speaking to a friend about the dangers and risks involved when having sex with someone. And this person told me that they were avoiding sex because they were afraid of things like STIs, sexually transmitted infections, and pregnancy. So I thought I would make a video about all the risks involved in having sex with someone. And of course at the end we're going to talk about, is it worth the risk? Anyway, greetings from New York, having a really amazing time here. I'll make another video about what I'm doing here, why I came here, but that will be another moment. Anyway, let's get into it. Risks of sex. Well, first one, pregnancy. If you don't want a child, that is, of course. So yeah, that's always a risk, and there is no type of contraception that is 100% accurate. So if you want to avoid that type of risk, I think it's worth being very, using condoms correctly. Condoms are, I think it's 97% effective. But I've always been shocked by how we're not really taught, well, I went to a Catholic school, not really taught about how to put a condom on correctly. And I've seen guys kind of stretch them out and peel them down, and that's just not how you do it. You pinch the top and then roll it down. And sometimes it's not always clear which is the right way around as well. So I think it's important to have that condom moment, a bit of a pause, and make sure it's on correctly. And also the penis has to be very hard in that situation, otherwise it can be it can break more easily if it's not, or fall off and things like that. So it's important to use condoms correctly. But of course condoms, there are other ways of preventing pregnancy, such as the pill and other things as well, which I'm not really quite up to date on, to be honest. I remember it was one of my concerns when I started having sex. I was very concerned about an unwanted pregnancy, and to avoid that, to actually not worry about it, I actually used condoms and the pill when I first started having sex, because I was very afraid of unwanted pregnancy, and I didn't really want to have to be in a position where I might have to deal with that. So I thought, let's be extra safe. So that's one way of avoiding pregnancy, is having two methods. But also I think it's important to and also one of the reasons why I was taking the pill was to have a regular cycle, because I wasn't having a regular cycle at the time. So I thought, if something's gone wrong, at least I'll know pretty soon. Yeah, so that's one of the risks, of course. Then the next risk of STIs, sexually transmitted infections. Condoms can help, but they're not 100%, and there are things that condoms cannot prevent. Things like HPV, things like that. So there's always a risk, and sometimes, well, people might say it's a numbers game, but all it takes is one wrong time, one wrong person. That wrong might sound bad, but it's just one unlucky time where you could get something. A lot of infections can be dealt with easily with antibiotics, but some of them aren't as well, and not all STIs have symptoms. So there is always that risk when you're having sex with someone that it might not be that orgasmic. Yeah, so that's something to bear in mind as well. Another thing I wanted to say is then some more kind of emotional risks. Let's talk about, for example, something that can be very emotionally risky these days, especially in the casual dating world. When you like someone, you think they like you as well, and you have sex with them, and then you feel like you've opened up emotionally, and then they ghost you, and you feel like you've been very vulnerable, and then that kind of vulnerability or intimacy is not really being held or appreciated, and that's always a big risk. Even with people who you are in a relationship, there's always going to be a risk of them not quite appreciating what that might mean to you. Because that's the thing about sex, is like it has different meanings for different people, and not just for different people, but different times, and also different stages of relationships. You might be in a phase of living the single life, you might be in a phase of looking for a partner, you might be in a relationship. So sex can have different meaning according to what phase of life you are in, and what you're looking for, and how you perceive that other person. If it's someone who's just kind of like how would I say, filling the gaps for now, or is it someone you actually want to build something with? That's a very different type of energy there. But I think it's important to know what the vibe is before you have sex with someone, and make sure you are on the same page. What does that sexual encounter actually mean? So to actually prevent that kind of hurt, one way would be to actually take your time and then talk about it before you do it. So make sure you're on the same page, because otherwise sometimes these conversations can be difficult to have, but they are so worth it. And because otherwise we're making assumptions about what someone else is thinking or what their intentions are. But just to actually, get over that doubt or eliminate that doubt, it's always best to actually talk about it. Another thing that can happen, so ghosting, I think it's really terrible, is indiscretion. I think, it's a very sacred moment when you share sexual intimacy with someone, and you don't want it to be something like that they tell their friends or you tell your friends. It should be something that's kind of respected and private. Sometimes people want to get, if something's gone wrong or they need some advice, they might share it with their friends, but it's always good to have a trusted friend or someone who is going to be discreet, because these are very personal things, and getting naked with someone, letting them in their body, and just is a very, very personal thing. For some people don't care, but some people do. So indiscretion is something that's always a risk as well. So that's just a huge risk. So I'm quite lucky in that sense that I've always attracted people who are very, very private into my life, and that's something that brings me a lot of reassurance. And something that's very important for me is the feeling of safety, and the feeling of physical safety, emotional safety, because then when you feel safe, I feel like I can really open up and then really enjoy myself, and then the other person can enjoy it more too. Another thing which is a risk is discovering lies. This has happened to me, oh my god, when someone has not painted a completely honest picture of who they are or what their relationship status is. That's happened to me a couple of times where I thought, someone was single and they weren't that single, and I was like, oh my god, if I'd known this, I would not have done that. That kind of thing. And these things are kind of more common than we think, unfortunately. So it's really important to kind of make sure, what someone's intentions are, what their relationship status is, and what they are looking for from this encounter to actually prevent that from happening. So the meaning is like, what does it mean to you, this sexual encounter? Is it just a bit of fun? Are we just going to see what happens? Is it a foundation for building something more meaningful? So these are lots of risks that I'm talking about here. So there's always going to be a risk, even if you feel safe or that you know that person well. And it's a question of, doing an analysis of the risk versus the reward. Is the reward greater than the risk? And that's something that only you can decide for yourself. But as one of my friends used to say, when in doubt, leave it out. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. So that's something to bear in mind as well. But I think not having sex just because of the risks, I think that's a pity. But you have to listen to your heart, listen to your body, and then your body is kind of like your intuition. I think your body knows when something is good for you and when something's not so good for you. And also these decisions have to be made for yourself, not based on what someone else is telling you should do, not based on the values you've been brought up with. Maybe they're different from how you're seeing life. I mean, I've been brought up in a kind of more religious kind of background, so I don't share the same opinions as the education I've received. So it's important to kind of think, what are your beliefs and what feels good to you, and never do something because of for validation or because all your friends are doing it. It doesn't really matter if all your friends are having lots of sex and you're not. I think it's just more important to think about, honor yourself, and if it's worth maybe it is worth waiting for someone special who is going to value your sexual energy. So I think for people who are avoiding sex because they're not quite feeling it yet, or they think everyone else is having a great time and they're not, I think don't look at what everyone else is doing. Just think about what's in your heart and what's going to make you feel good. And really I think meditation is the answer to almost everything. But once you know yourself and know what's good for you, and know what's bad for you, then you can kind of really tap into your inner world and try and ask yourself, is this something I want to do, yes or no? And if it's not a wow, yes, so big, this yes, that the risks don't seem that big, or you're not worrying about them too much, then only you can answer, only you know the answer to those questions. So I've just thought about some of those risks about sex. So if you have any more to add to the list, or what do you think about the risk and reward, we'd love to hear your comments below. And please send me some tips or requests for content. I'm very inspired to answer any of your questions and make the content that you're looking forward to hearing from me. Anyway, that's it. Greetings from New York. Mwah.